Okay, just a heads up. I tried to put it on your account, but it wouldn't let me, so you have to do that yourself on here.
It's okay. Right now, I have stuff I have to deal with. I wonder why
Okay,
it
no
won't
problem.
let you since we added me to it here.
I try. I don't know what I can do. What the hell then? Is that? Yeah, that's my okay.
Let me
Whatever.
see.
Oh, technical funsies. All right.
It's adding fine on my end, so
Okay then.
there. My audience can watch how stupid we can act. I mean,
Okay. I was gonna
wow,
do
just
something
give me.
about the Tylenol shit, but it's like, no, let's not do that.
No, you really don't want with me.
No. But let's see. Back to the. That was back in the 11th. 6 ways Star Trek changed the world for the better. Some of it's a little superficial. Yeah.
Well, most of these lists are superficial. It's basically what pseudo fans trying to show that they're fans by writing stupid articles that every base fan knows.
Yeah, something like that.
It's almost never actually in depth or going into the complexities of the fandom. It's just look at this. We can applaud ourselves. Yay, go us.
Look, we know how to look shit up. I think. Let's see. September 8th, September 6th in Canada, but they don't make a big deal about that. But oh well. Advancements in science and technology. Yeah, well, it's kind of back and forth there because they were looking at what was going on at the time and pushing that forward, and then the people pushing forward looking at, hey, that's an idea, and then kind of.
Yeah, there is absolute evidence that cell phones were being developed for. However, cell phones became what they were because they took inspiration from the design of the tricorder. So it was both. The communicators affected it, but and I still hate that show, Iron. But it's good to see you.
But it's like everyone's credit, the communicator with, but actually AT&T was putting something forward, a couple of years earlier. But again, somebody
what they were developing was not the same as what came out after watching the communicators either.
Yeah.
So it's a partial truth, like the Lucille Ball and her love of Star Trek and saving it is partial truth. She actually did really care about it, but they also overhyped it for attention of fans and stuff like that. Yeah. And some of the stuff said isn't true. It's like the racial line that it affected and claiming that it was the first interracial kiss. Not true, but they pushed specifically something that was being censored in TV because they were fighting for the civil rights movement. Yes. It's like the partial truth, the myth, the fiction from reality, the myth versus the reality.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, you can't just take it like it came out of the bowl. Oh my God, it's like, tablets from heaven. No, there were things going on around them. It affected each other. Because television used to be all kinds of social commentary back in the 50s and stuff. But then partially they started, getting more people who could afford a TV. So they thought, we need to dumb it down. And we need to stop preaching at them a bit and just start going for mass entertainment.
Yeah, while we get on the whole topic, the whole concept of let's dumb things down for the masses is a freaking catch-22 anyways. Because what they're basically saying is you poor people are too stupid to know what we elites know. So we're going to make everything stupid and try to keep you stupid so that we can easily manipulate you and you'll be stupid.
Mm-hmm. We can't get you getting too smart. You might start questioning things.
Like why do both sides keep covering up for a certain monster? Anyway,
kids getting to the point where it's like in the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. The hit shows comes 30 spies on the horse. And
I keep telling people, and this is a little more political than I'll usually go. There's a reason why all of these issues, why all of these belief structures, why all of these things that matter to the average person are championed by both sides when they're trying to win an election and they're not in power. And never gone after when they are in power. You're sheeple and it's kabuki. Anyway, carry on.
I'll save a response to that for my own thing. I might even do a Rush Limbaugh show on it. Okay, but this
I'm not saying that there's not valid on either side or any of that stuff. I'm saying wake up, people. It's absolutely being manipulated.
I will say this, like what Star Trek did was to point out, no, people want the social commentary. They want to be, they want to be prodded. They want to be, they want the thought process poked a bit. They want the brain thing. So that's why you did have. Okay, now we're doing college courses on Star Trek. People were doing doctorates back in the 70s on it. So it did kind of get don't dumb it down. And the result is, okay, well, people like it. Okay, when we'll let them, that way All in the Family was allowed to keep going, even though originally the ratings were not good. But the response they were getting from the audience they did have was off the charts. Okay, well, give it a chance. We got something here.
Well, it got more and more ratings also as it became less and less one-sided and more calling out the insane hypocrisies and bigotries on both sides.
Yeah. But the fact is,
where they really started playing on Michael being a bigot and the Jefferson family and the black community and other stuff. And they really started showing the issues on all sides instead of everybody's good on one side, bad on the other.
Mm-hmm.
The more it became social commentary on the reasons why all communities are fucked up, the better it did.
Okay, women's rights. Again, it's some of this is sort of trying to look at it through a current day lens. Is like, no, the miniskirt back then was a mark of liberation. Grace Lee Whitney and Nichelle Nichols demanded those miniskirts. Okay, they were going to be put in pants with them. No, worked hard for these legs. Goddamn, I want to show them off.
What the hippie movement talked about was the sexual revolution. Now I have agreements and disagreements with it.
Yeah.
But what the sexual revolution said is we have a right to be sexual beings and enjoy sex just as much as men do.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't have to cover ourselves from head to toe in sweat buckets just because men might want to look at us. Maybe we want to be looked at.
Yeah. Nichelle and Grace were both dancers. They wanted to show off those legs. They worked hard for those.
Well, yeah.
And of course, Bill Tyson. It's less material off my budget. Yeah, great. Worked with them and developed it up, and really, again, that's where the scant thing came, because there's really, the panties are built into the outfit. It wasn't just strictly a miniskirt necessarily.
Let's also be honest. If you look at a lot of shows from mid '60s to early '80s, the skirts, the ability to see their panties half the time, even on a lot of the kids, was way more scandalous than they are now.
Oh yeah. Outdoor underwear. It's like, well, that's sort of
Tabitha was horrible with that in Bewitched.
Mm-hmm.
I swear she had like these dresses that I always thought were like 2 sizes too small for the kid. Where you could see her diaper sticking out of it. It's like, they don't do that really anymore.
Yeah, the girl
right up in All in the Family, there's a scene where you can see the child's privates.
That was, that anything about that scene. Because then it's Archie at home, babysitting little baby Joey.
Yeah, it's literally him changing a baby, but you cannot do that now. And there's a good reason not to do it now, because they've realized there's far more predators that watch for scenes like that, stuff like that. They were around then too, but people were not as aware of it.
They wanted to be honest with the scene. And they knew if they put a doll in there, it wouldn't work, so they had to have a real baby, and you couldn't take it, so they had the camera and
And they tried several times, and it always ended up in camera, because every time they did the changing with the baby, every time they started to, he would wee and make it stand up.
It's like,
I understand both sides of that argument. I'm not saying that they were doing something predatory with that scene, but I can also see why you don't want those being made.
Well, I remember watching it at the time, and I was a kid, and it's their grandfather changing his baby's diaper. And they're going, and some years later,
back then,
Norman Lear was doing, they were doing a retrospective with Norman Lear on there, and they replayed the scene, and froze that moment. Norman, look, full frontal male nudity on network television, and got a big laugh.
That, but let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. I'm saying that you're like rambling and not letting me get a word in here.
Yeah.
That was actually part of the point I was making. It was not less predators then. And in fact, if you look up the history of serial killers, cults, and all that, there were far more of them in the hippie era per capita than there are now. But it wasn't talked about often publicly, except for a few sensationalized ones.
They were underground where they belong.
Let me finish.
All right.
It wasn't ranted about constantly. I love my true crime, but it makes us far more aware of all this now. And internet makes us far more aware of this now, because they're a lot more bolden to say things boldly. there were still tons of predators that were watching that show and having fun with that scene. But people weren't as aware of it then. So it wasn't that they were maliciously putting the kid up for that. It's that they were less aware that it was going to happen.
My point is that normal people watching the scene never occurred to them. Oh my God! Wait and say it's baby. It's a baby and a grandfather and a baby. It's like,
yeah, I'm not saying normal people think of it that way. I'm saying you have to be more aware because we're now aware how many predators look for those things. I'm saying that wasn't different then, except for we weren't aware of it socially.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
predators have always been looking for those things.
Who would ever think of look back at the 70s as a time of innocence? Okay. Diversity. This is a very abused word now. One of the
diversity
first teacher not really. Okay, it's like
diversity does not mean that you can't question anybody if there are certain groups or certain groups have more value than others because they've been kept out of the loop or stuff. What diversity meant was everybody has a place. Say what you need to, do what you mean to. It's like I've always said, I don't want to be hired on quotas. I don't want to be treated like I need a handout. I'm not stupid because I'm Native. However, when you strip away all of the diversity stuff without being careful, you also strip away people who earn that title, who are minorities, who are looked at under the same lens just because they're there.
Yeah, that's kind of my point there. It's like, technically look back at the 70s. Yeah, the 70s got pretty sick.
You think?
Yeah. But
I'm a true girl, you think? I mean,
yeah. But the whole thing, but they like to, say that, Sergeant, the first one to defeat. No, there were black people on television before Nichelle Nichols.
There was a black and white kiss before that, but it was on a variety show.
It's like, Sulu was Sulu. We never really knew what kind of descent he was because Sulu was not a name of it.
This is what you can say on that kiss is it was the first scripted black and white kiss on network television. It was
not the first.
It was not the first
racial. No,
because for the crying out loud, what do people think I Love Lucy was? It was a Celtic woman with a Hispanic husband.
Yeah,
they kissed all the damn time on it.
Yeah. And for them, it's not even Star Trek's first scripted interracial kiss.
And it's not like people were unaware that Lucy and Desi or Lucy and Ricky were an interracial couple. It was a lot of the storyline of the entire thing was their trouble understanding each other's cultures and language.
Yeah. And they were a celebrity couple before the show. Okay. It was a big deal.
Looking at it going, oh yeah, they're both white. No, they weren't. The fact that it was in black and white did not mean people did not understand that Ricky was Cuban.
Yeah, that was part of his whole thing. Desi Arnaz was a very well-known Cuban singer. The big deal when he defected, when he came over from Havana.
And I've heard other people going in defense of illegal stuff going, well, Desi was illegal. No, he was a refugee.
Yeah, different.
He still applied legally when he got here.
He was escaping Cuba. He was,
And again, refugee status does not guarantee you still need. They still do background checks. They still do other stuff. That does not mean I support the extremes they go through with trying to shut down immigration stuff either. But let's stop making it sound like illegals are all just innocent people and trying to prop them up like perfect examples of society. That's not true.
But it's like
I know I'm a little more political than normal here, but I'm so tired of both sides right now.
But it's like George Takei did have work before Star Trek. Okay, so it wasn't it was a noteworthy part in that he wasn't playing with an accent. It was normal Los Angelino thing. But even
did help break the stereotype of black people in scripted TV that they didn't just have to be comic foibles anymore or maids. It did absolutely help create that break in that and help rewrite some of TV in that way.
Yeah,
but it did not. It didn't put them on TV for the first time.
It moved the thing forward. But
again, it's the half truths. They take something that, it did play a part in this. It did help society advance in this way, but then they blow it out of proportion and it becomes myth and legend and stuff, and it's no longer what it started as.
That's like the whole thing about Sulu. No, the name Sulu was chosen because it wasn't specific. It was the Sulu Sea in the Philippines, the Philippines area, because I mean, George went through this, different, like there are certain, Itaka would be Japanese, Kim would be Korean, Chen would be, they picked something that was specifically wasn't from a specific Asian culture. So
yeah, it was designed to make him basically a nondescript Asian.
Yeah.
But Iron, the funny part about that is we are actually worse with diversity now as a society than we were when I was a kid. Hand bar none on all sides.
It's not diversity, it's tokenism.
When I was, let me finish. When I was a kid, it was not really looked at that much when interracial stuff happened. I'm not going to say it didn't still happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say there weren't those issues with people complaining about Sean and Angela on Boy Meets World being interracial. It did happen. But it was not millions of people publicly decrying interracial people and calling them racial traitors and all this shit like you have now on all sides.
Yeah.
It wasn't the keep whites pure, keep blacks pure, all this shit. It was the lone whack jobs every so often who said that, and a lot of people telling them, go fuck yourself.
And they were viewed as lone whack jobs, and
whereas now it's almost becoming a majority opinion that you should stick to your own kind.
Yeah. It was like back in the day, it was like when Robert Culp told the Bill Cosby how we're going to address the race issues. Like we'll address it by not addressing it. Just like it's perfectly normal.
What would I do?
I
have people sit there and go, well, what about stick to your own kind? It's like, well, I'm pale skinned but native. I've got traces of almost everything in me. My husband's Celtic. I have Irish in me, so fuck you. I am sticking to my own. I mean, we're still interracial, but I'm also sticking to my own. That's the weird dichotomy in that. It's like, no, these people think if you're mixed race, you shouldn't marry. You should just die off your gene pool, literally.
Yeah.
And these are the people who harassed Tia and Tamara when they both got married, because one married a white man, one married a black man, and neither were supposed to do that because they're mixed race and their dad's white. So one got harassment telling her that she was tainting the black gene pool by marrying a black man. And the other got messages telling her she was every kind of sellout and that, if this was 100 years ago, he would have had to pay for you and shit like that. It's not okay. And that would not have happened 20 years ago. Not to the level it has.
I attempted to bring in a Charlie Kirk reference here because race was his argument was race is a social construct. Genetically, there's no difference.
My dad always said it was what it should have been is when they talked about the genetic differences, because there are, because of where you developed and all that.
Very subtle.
It always should have been dealt with as breeds, not race. But that's a different terminology. However, the people who are now trying to claim that race is a social construct mostly are people who are trying to use it so that they can call anybody who's pale-skinned minorities white and anybody who's too dark white no longer white. Yeah. So they can try to fit everybody to look a certain way for each group. And that's a worse problem to me than the other, because now you're literally trying to erase people's genetics, their ethnicity and race because of skin conditions or mixed race status.
Yeah. That's really not idic. Nichelle understood what Rodriguez is thinking. So she doesn't want you to like her in spite of her being black. She wants to be black. It's to celebrate the differences, but actually not. There are differences.
Yeah,
they're not good or bad. They're differences. Okay,
You can have shows, you can have stories, you can have movies, you can have songs that talk about people's cultural backgrounds, their ethnic backgrounds, the history of their people, all that stuff, without making it sound like you're all trying to play oppression Olympics, Special Olympics to see who's the best person.
Yeah.
Who's the most top diverse person? Hint. I'm a Native American albino who's allergic to her own tears. I win. Shut up. Anyway. Yeah. Right?
But
the point was, it wasn't about who can say, I am the most diverse, I am the most rare, I am the most this, I am the darkest this or stuff. It was about, let's celebrate our backgrounds. Let's celebrate where we come from. Let's make our ethnic foods. Let's share our culture with each other. And then shut the fuck up and act human to each other.
And the whole thing about, Pavel Andreevich Chekhov, Russian rich crew during the Cold War was happening in real life. I have two words for you. Ilya Kuryakin. They were chasing the man from U.N.C.L.E. on this point. Okay, originally when Walter Koenig walked in, he wasn't auditioning for a Russian part. They were trying to, they were actually trying to get a Davy Jones type because the monkeys were, big and thing. And I think it was probably Roddenberry because he also had a little envy of, the way Man from Uncle was doing. And I think, how about we make him Russian? That'll make him, big stink. But it's like, it wasn't the first time Walter Koenig played a Russian accent on, he did a guest spot on Mr. Novak as a Russian exchange student.
And how many people try to portray Russians as this white power group, but they're they're that Western Asian line. They're Europe, Asia for a reason. They're the combining of both. And historically, they're the combining of both. They're part white, yes. They're also significantly Mongolian blood with bits of Chinese in them. Look up the ethnicity history. Look at how Russian came to be, how that whole belt came to be, how the Czech belt came to be. And they're all significantly Asian and European.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one or the other.
Okay.
Like Filipino is not Asian, it's Asian Hispanic.
Yeah.
That's literally how it came to be. Just like the Hawaiian tribes, the islanders, are a combination of Asian and Native American here from other regions.
So you look at the
because no, we did not all come from the land bridge.
Yeah.
Some of us did, not all of us. A lot of us didn't.
Yeah, they keep saying, "Oh, it was the first interracial kiss." I didn't know. We've dealt with that, and a lot of the interracial aspect didn't really kick in on the whole issue until it reached the network that this is what they were doing. Before that, it was just in the show. And originally it was scripted, that Uhura was going to kiss Spock, and that's where Shatner. Oh no! If anybody's kissing the show, it's going to be me. It's like, had nothing to do. This is great. And it wasn't until they started doing it. Then, oh wait, he's kissing the. Hold on, and that's when the network started sticking the notes after. They're well into the production of it. And then they started doing that. Well, okay, we'll shoot it both ways, see which one works. And then it's like Shatner kept deliberately blowing take after take after take when they started with not supposed to kiss. And then when they finally did it, they were so tired they didn't notice in the final take that he crossed his eyes. So making the take unusable. And then somebody when they did the screen, it's like, okay, we're going with the kiss. And okay, so, but it's like, there's a context to all this stuff, and a lot of it's not really black and white. The network was not against this sort of thing. It's just that they didn't want to, upset. Well, consider what's currently going on with Kimmel. They didn't want to upset the affiliates. They didn't want to, because there aren't, especially back then, the networks could only own directly like 7 stations nationwide. Everything else was affiliates. And they had the option of not running the program that you're sending on the line.
Now, do we find interracial kisses on TV being about the race of the actor or actress or the race they were playing and portraying, as they didn't have the consistency in that either for a long time?
Yeah.
But what kills me also on that, talking about that whole situation, is they play this like this was this overcome moment where they portrayed interracial kissing on this. It's like, you know what else happened in season 3 about 7 episodes prior to that?
That we had let there be a last battlefield?
Paradise Syndrome.
Ah.
Where Kirk was making out with a woman that was supposed to be Native American.
Yeah.
First interracial kiss?
Well, again, we could go back to Mirror Mirror. Barbara Luna's Filipino. So, yeah, it wasn't even Star Trek's first interracial kiss. They'd done it a year earlier.
It's like they did it multiple times.
And if you want to get really ticky-tack, it's like Bill Shatner's Jewish. So we could go back to every girl he's kissed that's not a Jew. Let's see, disability representation. And this was, again, we're talking next generation here, so this is a little more deliberate.
Yes, okay. The actress that played in that episode is considered ethnically white. However, she also was raised in Native culture and is believed by natives to be part Native.
Sabrina Sharp?
Yes.
I know nothing about her background. I'm assuming she was a blonde.
She's not. She's not as pale.
Well,
and
no,
also blonde. Blonde does not mean you're not part native, especially when you grow up in those communities.
Yeah.
Technically, my sister's blonde, okay? And my sister looks more native than I do in some ways. So it's like, it doesn't mean anything because blonde hair, for some reason, is a very common genetic mutation on mixed natives, which I guess most people actually probably don't know if you're not there. There's been whole debates in the native community because her own family had a lot of intermingling with brown natives for generations, and they pretty much all of them think that she was at least part because of the bone structure and other things in her family's history.
She's making him a lawyer. She's 81.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's believed, but it can't be proven because there's so little record keeping from that era involving that community.
Yeah.
And so many of them were married off as white or documented on birth records as white and erased that it's hard to prove. That's why I find the whole thing going on with her up in Canada so ridiculous because A, absolutely look at the woman, she's at least part native. But B, they're going, well, her birth certificate said white. It's like, okay, but both her birth family and her adopted family said she's native. You know?
Yeah, well, she was born in Delphos, Ohio, moved her mother to Arizona, living in Tucson, lived with the algebra teacher in 15 married to 3 years later. Worked as a theatrical assistant in New York to make him a Playboy bunny, beginning in 62, I assume working in the clubs as a waitress. Appeared in the movie Easy Rider and guest starred in the third season episode of them. And she quit in the 70s, became an anti-pollution activist, and tried to run for California State Senate.
I will tell you this way. There's entire communities in the Native community that have kind of spent a long time trying to prove she's one of us. And all they can prove is there's a lot of interaction on the reses with her genetic line that they can't prove intermingled or not. But they're pretty much assuming. That's why I said it's assumed by a lot of natives, not that it is known.
Yeah.
There's a reason I said it that way. We don't know for sure, but she looks like one of us, and there's a lot of places where it could have happened. And so little records back then.
Well, there's a few pictures of her out, other than Star Trek, the Hawaii Five-0 thing.
Yeah, and even when they tried to make her look blonde and white, she's still got darker skin and darker.
She's got brown hair.
Yeah. Because there were some parts where they dyed it blonde and did other stuff like that, or highlighted the pale in the skin, and she still doesn't quite look white.
That is a wig she was wearing in Star Trek, though.
Oh yeah, well, most natives do not have hair like that. Side note: most natives do not have hair like that. It's not usually that pure of a black. It's more often a brown tone. First of all, second of all, it is very rarely actually that pin straight. It is thick as a horse's fucking tail, though. I mean.
I think a lot was at that point. It's like, especially the third season, we're trying to save money. So hair and makeup, throw on a wig, slather on the brown face. We're done.
Yeah. And red face, technically, by the way. By legal accounts, it's considered that. Why is it they make such a big deal out of blackface, but yet these same people act like it's no big deal when you talk about the fact that about 95% of Native characters throughout Hollywood's history have been played by Italians.
This looks like a Man from Uncle finger. Yeah.
It's like, is it okay to, be consistent on this? If blackface is wrong, isn't that also wrong? Can we have consistency? Right?
Yeah, here's some selection of photos from her.
Like I said, even there where she's more natural, she definitely doesn't look pure white. That picture is one of the ones in a lot of the debates I've seen growing up about, is she one of us? Because even when her skin looks pale, the full bone structure, the cheeks, the eye shape, the hair, everything looks native in her natural form.
And the brown eyes.
The other thing that we argued about with that Star Trek episode too, they put on this ridiculous black wig that looks like a very specific form of Asian and does not look Native American at all. Meanwhile, her natural hair looks fucking native. It's like, why did they do that? Why did they put on this ridiculous wig that was over the top when she looked native already? Right?
This is in case
And
I'm
they
not
didn't
paying
need
attention. This is not her. Okay. That's a
No.
totally different girl, you morons.
And they did not need to darken her that much either. Most
Mhm.
native tribes, unless you were Southern, were not that dark.
Mm-hmm.
All they could literally needed her to do was go spend a day or two in the sun and get a little tan. You'll look okay.
Yeah. Although I think the day that's why her hair looked a little lighter in that thing. And let's pull this back up here.
Other side note, because when I got diagnosed with the albinism, I was the third person in my tribe to be diagnosed. There's now listed 8 people diagnosed with it in my tribe and growing.
Mm-hmm.
So this newly discovered form they're finding out is actually quite common in my tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And there's several family members that are looking into it because they think they have it as well.
Mm.
And then I thought about it. My dad was a very native man, but he was also significantly paler than all his siblings.
Mm.
And it's usually genetic.
Yeah, well, the disability thing, that's partially because Roddenberry thought, the big joke, the blind guy's steering the ship. So, and then second season rolls around and says, okay, we do need a chief engineer. So it's like, let's give LeVar something better to do. And he did fight to get rid of the visor because he one of the things I always liked about his acting was to use his eyes, and this forced him to not use his eyes, which made him a better actor. I think they had to use other things.
Now, I will say with the stuff LeVar said, based on even the things the other cast members have said, it wasn't no to any of the racial stuff he said happened on set, but it wasn't as much as he portrayed it either.
Mm.
But even some of the other cast members, some of the ones who were more centrist even said, yeah, there were members of cast who were absolutely harassing him racially on set.
Yeah. That probably had more to do with his part in Roots. Like, hey, Kunta Kinte. Yeah, that's more of just, jabbing at him, not because of, he's black, because he was Kunta Kinte.
But personal memories, and especially if it's something that really bothers you or is traumatic to you, which being harassed racially is to most people.
Yeah.
I can see how over time the personal memories would make it more extreme than it actually was.
Yeah, because memory is horribly unreliable.
Yeah. I don't think the more I've researched what even the other cast members have said, I don't think he was actually trying to lie about that. I think his memory might be a little more extreme than what actually happened, but I think he was also being honest. And considering the fact that he was saying that this cast that tries to portray themselves as this whole diversity supporting group were being portrayed in his comments as being racially assholes to him. And I'm serious. Yes, there is definitely some racial bias to how the hell Harry Kim never got a promotion, but freaking Tom Paris always did. How the hell do you promote over and over the biggest doofus on the ship who keeps breaking the rules wantonly while ignoring the most brilliant engineer who never does anything wrong?
I don't think that was racial. I think it was just it's fun to pick on Harry.
No, I do think there was a little bit of that, partly because he hired the fake native writer knowing he was a fake native.
Well,
I think there was definite issues with some racial biases in these casts that was writing and working on Voyager. And I'm not saying that means that the show wasn't overall good, and I'm not saying that it means that everybody there was racist or stuff, but I think there was definitely a few racial biases that played out.
Yeah. And then, of course,
that's why I said biases, not outright. I don't even know if they were aware they were doing it.
Yeah, it's just like it's unconscious stuff. This is back, And then we got the catch-all, a brighter future.
Well, we're not heading towards that now, so how has it improved that?
Well, let's also not forget that Roddenberry also postulated that there would be a big old blowout World War III, nuclear holocaust, and everything else before we got there. So
careful with that word there. Anyway, it's like people are so dumbfounded on this. It's like it's really actually pretty simple.
Okay,
Utopia will never happen because humans are assholes and monsters and psychopaths. And no matter what we do, there's always going to be a percentage of us that are that way. Utopia is a nice fantasy.
Okay.
It's not reality.
This one I think needs addressing.
And that's one place where, even though I am a Trekkie and I try to be idealist in some ways, I'm also a bit nihilist in other ways and very cynical. And no, we're not going to have a utopia.
That's the whole thing. The point is to try. The striving for it is the point, not getting there. Because getting there probably not as much fun as it is as you think it'd be. That's like, you think about rather the blooper reel. It's like Star Trek did not invent the blooper reel.
Actually, they didn't even share. They didn't even share blooper reels from the set until they started to become popular in pop culture.
Well, it's because Roddenberry started telling the lectures.
Yeah, we could get some attention from this. Look, people like these things. Let's share them.
Blooper reels as long as there's been movies. For the same reason. They clip it, they cut together, the goofs, and they show them at the rap party.
At the end of silent movies.
Yes.
I've watched them.
Seen outtakes going back to the 30s. Like, this is, the whole thing started with, because Roddenberry started showing them at his lectures.
Mm-hmm. Were they a part of it becoming popularized again more?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that they somehow created this popularity of it. No. Again, myth from fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
They take every little thing that has happened in Star Trek and they overplay it. And this is, as a Star Trek fan, and I actually find it annoying.
Yeah.
Because they make out like everything Star Trek does is fucking perfect and gold, and it's not.
Yeah,
Nimoy. And I love my Star Trek.
Now, Nimoy did have a big problem because this is a private thing for us, Gene. And of course, showed that Gene really did. Well, you want a copy? No, that's not the point. That was kind of the beginning of the split between him and Roddenberry. No, this is not.
Well,
no,
Roddenberry didn't see things the way other people saw them. To be fair, do you know what I would love to have a several-hour DVD set made on?
Mm-hmm.
All the outtakes of the filming of Miracle Max and Princess Bride. That was supposed to be a 10-minute filming session for a short clip. It wasn't even supposed to be that big of a scene. And literally, it turned into 3 days, over 10 hours a day to get the scene. Because Carol Kane and Billy Crystal would not stop cutting up.
Yeah. The only thing worse.
And they literally said most of the scene, they had to put in a body double for Carrie on the bench because he couldn't stop laughing while they were filming. Mandy said it was the only injury he had on set there was he actually cracked one of his ribs laughing at Crystal.
The only thing that would be worse in the situation would be if it was Billy Crystal and Robin Williams. Those two together were dangerous.
Which, honestly, I get why some people didn't like it, but I think their movie they did together did not get the credit it deserved. Yeah. It was actually really hilarious. Father's Day was fucked up.
Yeah.
I think
two of them on stage were incredible.
Did you ever see that movie?
No, don't think so.
I actually, because it got panned and they said it wasn't up to the quality of either of them. I sit there going, no, it was funny as shit. Hi, Kermit.
Okay, then we got this thing. It could be in danger of a decision isn't made soon. Honest and for true. Nobody wants. Then this kind of goes into where they have, been invited to. They're giving him a chance. Skydance is,
I would say
give us some pictures.
All I'm hearing is Star Trek.
Yeah,
I would suggest we're too early in the plot to solve any major issues.
Wait for any
I suggest waiting for further plot complications before we deal with this.
Logical, Mr.
Impeccable logic, Slock.
Dr. McCoy, I'm a writer. I'm a doctor, not a scriptwriter. That's like, they have been, they've made some pitches and they've not landed. One of them was laughed out of the room. I guarantee you, one of them was this, and I was like, "No, this is not what we want. Give us a pitch for Legacy." They're not giving a pitch for Legacy.
Let me ask you this way: if they made a 4-hour set of the best of those outtakes of Billy Crystal and Carol Kane cutting up, would you be the first to buy it with me?
Oh my God!
And I don't know why I can't hear her or see her without picturing her in a tutu kicking someone in the nuts. I love Scrooged. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, here's one that kind of goes into the discussion we had. Spock's brain is not the worst episode of the. You know, like when you get to like the 5 or 6 episodes that are considered the real stinkers, then it's a matter of personal preference. I think of which one's the worst. Because it's really worst. What's the worst for you? Because
scientifically, Spock's brain is the worst. Absolutely,
it's definitely up there. I think also what hurts it is also the cheesy title. It just sounds like a B movie.
I will also say I would watch Spock's brain any day over the return of Kes and Voyager. Anyway, that was that episode.
But they go on, and it does have the brain and brain. What is brain? Yeah, it's the most meme worthy of them all. But Way to Eden, it's up there. I think, man, that's irritating because of what it could have been. It was supposed to be about McCoy's daughter, and Fred Freiberger, God knows why, decreed that McCoy and Kirk were the same age. So McCoy, Deke Kelly was 10 years older than Bill Shatner, and it was obvious. And it was in the fucking writer's guide that he had a daughter and was going to school.
See, again, I think that episode, because of the rewriting, is up there, but I also don't find it as cringe as some of them.
And this is a little unfair, bringing in, shows from other shows. But, Code of Honor, that one's a bit of a stinker. That, And let's see. I don't remember Silent Enemy. Sub Rosa. It's Beverly fucks a ghost on TV.
Yeah, that and the de-evolution episodes are the worst of Next Gen.
And then, of course, the Vulcan Hello. It's like, yep, this is where your franchise is going, kids. Hope you're happy. And then there's These Are the Voyages.
It wasn't just Kes that was butchered in that episode. It was half of the plot of the entire first half of the series.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, don't bring that actress back. She was already high on drugs and going out of her mind at that point. That wasn't that long before she was arrested in her big blow up with police after that.
Yeah, naked.
She was not stable to do that with.
She'd be the only guest star on the thing to actually have to have an ankle monitor on her. It's like, These Are the Voyages. It's like, I think if they go through with this President Archer series, it's like first thing to do is show Trip there as a chief of staff alive and well. Never address that episode. Like, it didn't happen. It's going to be the only episode to actually be officially written out of canon. It's been hinted at already because they showed the refit Enterprise, in XO1 at the Fleet Museum. So that
I think part of what's fun about us doing all these Trek things together is how much we disagree on a lot of stuff.
And of course, Threshold, which was just dumb.
But this is the point of shows like it. It was supposed to inspire you, make you think, challenge your viewpoints. It was supposed to make you debate and argue and have conversations.
Yeah, Night in Sickbay was kind of a dogger too. I think Threshold. Part of that is in the writer's tech manual. It's quite a good read if you can get a hold of them. But it's like, talk about theoretically warp 10. You would occupy every point in the universe at once. It's a reference to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I don't know, somebody didn't quite get the reference, or they decided, for whatever reason, took it seriously. It's like, and this is why it was a joke in Hitchhiker's Guide. You can't take it seriously. But I think it's kind of unfair to bring in the other shows, though, because just stick to the original series in this situation. Because there's again the alternative factor that was a train wreck during production, and it shows. And the Omega Glory, that's typical Roddenberry left on his own, where the adjustments like the teaser, the act 1 and 2, it's just incredible, best thing you ever read. Oh my God, it's intriguing, it sucks you in. And then by act 3, it starts going, this is getting odd. And then by act 4, it's like, what the fuck am I looking at? And it's all dependent on how far down the bourbon bottle Roddenberry got when he finally, got to this part.
That's the thing, is Roddenberry was a visionary in some ways, but let's not pretend either. He was such a futurist. He was so believed in this utopian future. No, he didn't. not by his own comments. Did he hope for it? Did he think it was interesting to theorize and write about? Yes.
Yeah.
But he said himself in an interview what they made a joke with Zephyrin Cochran, what his vision for the future was. Money and women.
Yeah.
He said it himself in an interview. That's where that whole line with Cochran and First Contact came from.
Yeah. And also, like, you know, in DS9, I think it was Facets, the name of it, where Jadzia is revisiting all the previous cells, and they're being, you know, taken up by, you know, different people are, you know, sucking in, you know, and they're able to actually interact as a different individual.
The previous hosts.
Yeah, the previous hosts.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, Curzon is taking host in Odo, and he wants to stay. He's having fun. He ain't going back.
And find out, as much as Curzon was so beloved and talked about, like he was such a wise and wonderful man by Sisko all the time, he was actually a villainous lech who really didn't care much about other people.
And that, I think, was a commentary on Roddenberry. Because I think the way he talked about how, you know, sometimes, you know.
And Jadzia talking to Sisko about it and talk about the things he said, and that he only picked her because she was a pretty face and stuff like that. And him going, look, as much as I loved him, don't take anything he said to heart. He was a lech, basically.
Yeah. I think that was Rick Berman saying, yeah, this was Roddenberry behind closed doors. Yeah, he had some great points. He had some great ideas, but he was also a pervert. It's like, yeah, when he was wrong, sometimes I challenge him. Occasionally he'd laugh it off and accept it. Otherwise he'd rage, but eventually he'd accept, yeah, he's wrong.
Well, again, the point with a lot of the races in Star Trek wasn't to say that we believe that this is what people actually are. It was to take the most ridiculous, extremist views of all these different races and people and show that even under that, they could be reached, they could be decent, and other stuff. It actually was the humanizing people of completely different viewpoints and lifestyles. And that's where you've lost it. All these people that are on the hard anti-capitalist side of things, I won't even say left because that's multiple political factions that are anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
They don't get that the Ferengi was not just saying, they wrote the storyline the way they did as they became more popular, also to show that even the most corrupt and greedy person can have a heart underneath it.
And that has more to do with Armin Shimmerman coming in and saying, we need to redeem it.
While I may not agree with everything he says, he seems to be a genuine heart who tells people not to be assholes to each other on each side. Him and Michael Dorn are about a couple of the only characters that people I like left out of the cast of the shows when I was a kid.
Robert Beltran's pretty stand-up guy too.
Yeah. And
I know more about his private life than I should know, but I thought, you know, so I'll keep.
To all the people who keep sitting there going, he was playing a native and he was Hispanic. It's like, well, first of all, he's part Hispanic, he's part native.
Therefore, yeah,
he's and second of all, while Hispanic, yes, are colonizers just like the rest of Europe. Most of the people in Mexico who are Hispanic have a percentage of the native tribes there in them, also. But also, he's also got family directly in the tribes that he's part of and genetically related to, too. This was not like somebody of another race playing somebody.
No.
This was a mixed person playing one of his ethnicities.
They didn't have to brown up Robert Beltran, okay?
Or red up, because native, one of the big differentials in telling them apart is how much red shade is in the brown.
Yeah. All they did was slick back his hair and slip on that tattoo every day. As for the Ferengi, that was a product of some not kind things of Roddenberry's ideas about Jewish businessmen type thing and lawyers.
Yeah, like I said, Roddenberry may have had some good things he said and did in regards to tolerance and finding common ground, but he still had his own bigotries.
Yeah, he had some deep-seated thing, and he would freely admit it. This stuff is what I grew up with. I'm stuck with it. Okay, so I deal with what I can, but it was borderline anti-Semitic sometimes. Okay, so
I don't know.
And the Ferengi is kind of part
some of the stuff I've seen.
The Ferengi kind of goes into that, yeah.
I don't know if it was just borderline from some of the stuff I've seen, but I will also say one thing. He was actually a very staunch defender of Native Americans.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of time on the reses. He spent a lot of time around the people. And there are parts of the Lakota culture that he took from visiting the reservations and stuff that he put into both Vulcan and Klingon. Mm-hmm. And that he talked about even in interviews in the local areas about it.
Something he would say.
Does that mean that I can look at him and go, he wasn't a bigot in some ways? I absolutely can't.
No.
Because there were definitely ways he was, and he was absolutely a sexist, womanizing pig. But I can still give him credit for the ways he was forward thinking and the ways he was trying to grow. And that he did at least grow in his lifetime and become less that way over the years.
A lot of that he got from his dad, because the dad also a lot of forward thinking stuff he got from World War One. But yes, also his dad was horribly racist. Okay, so,
that's a yes and no, Kermit. And when I have more time, let's do a stream to take on that topic, because that's a complex topic that needs a long discussion.
I was like going back to the miniskirt thing. Because Trek Culture just did a retro review of the Man Trap, and they're thinking about some of the sexism and thing. Roddenberry's in his lectures that you cannot write science fiction, certainly can't read it without realizing that sexual equality is as fundamental and basic as any other kind of equality. However, in future pictures, he will continue to use women as sex objects. Not that, but to be fair, he has always used and will continue to use men as sex objects as well.
I was going to say, name a time when he wasn't trying to get Shatner out of his clothes because he was considered hot at that time.
Yeah, and he capped it with saying, in fact, when I was younger and more agile, I've been used as a sex object myself. I think it's great fun. So.
And that doesn't mean that I think it's necessarily right or wrong that it was done. But let's not pretend that this was being done just to the women here. It wasn't.
No, it was very even-handed, okay?
Yeah.
Now here's where my respect for Brandon Braga takes another notch up after having called him the Antichrist back in the day. I got quoted in some Details magazine about that. They actually pulled my AOL statement. Yes, he is the Antichrist. I have pictures. But yeah, he's looking. It's like talking about the shortened seasons of all the shows here. It's because back in the day they were doing like 26 something episodes a thing. It was a long-term relationship. Now it's like 10 episodes. It's like a Tinder date. In fact, it's like NCIS is still doing like 22 episodes, so it's not like it's impossible. I think Enterprise at the end was doing about 22 because they got back. Like, can we ease up a bit? Do we have to do like 28 or 26? But we argued that quality over quantity is the name of the game now. Yeah, well, unfortunately, Star Trek now has neither. Okay.
Yeah, it's like literally
the quality.
Star Trek was anti dumbing it down for the masses, and now it's become dumbed down for the masses. That's literally. Yeah. And again, we do all this. I don't know if you saw what Shatner said was behind his medical issue the other day.
He said he overindulged.
Basically, he ate too much sugar as a diabetic.
Not good.
And he's really lucky that didn't kill him in his 90s to do that.
Yeah, he's 94 years old, for Christ's sakes, Bill. I mean, it's like, that extra dopamine will only go so far, okay? Okay, and here's one that just crapped up here. Whoops. And this one, actually, I got some issues with, I think, because 3 worst US season 1 episodes, and they're hard to watch. Who is this idiot? Okay, it's Krista again.
I won't remember her name because she doesn't matter to me. But anyways, let's continue.
Let's see. Cage to cerebral audience. Again, multiple pilots is nothing new. In fact, they were Desi was doing a second pilot for a sitcom for NBC at the same time they're doing Where No One's Gone.
There have been shows known to get 6+ pilots before they even film an opening pilot for the series.
The early days of television, it was almost like normal to do multiple pilots. They wanted to do this idea. Let's try this, try that. Yeah. Court martial supposedly is hard. What?
No.
No, God, this is one of the best ones. I mean, there's a few problems here and there, mostly technical. Where is this pod? And I've solved that to my satisfaction. And actually, this kind of retrospect, this poses up a problem with AI and AI generated imagery, because that's exactly what we got here. And I bet whoever, when they wrote this thing, this is really not a problem with it. There was but it shows Kirk doing something he didn't do in very realistic fashion.
If anything, that episode really is stunningly accurate to the world today.
Yeah, that's the mark of the fact that it still resonates decades after.
It's not that it still resonates now; it resonates more now. It's more terrifying in today's era than it was then.
Mm-hmm.
In the era of AI and deep fakes and people literally blackmailing people with fake sex tapes and shit, that episode should be stunningly scary.
Yeah. The problem with the episode is so much the story is how it's presented. The heartbeat.
There are AI systems now they've created that can literally scan an image of a person in clothing and figure out, based on the shadowing and marking and the lighting, not only the shape underneath exactly, but if they have dark patches, moles, scars, and stuff underneath the clothing.
Yeah.
And replicate it.
Yep.
That's terrifying.
That's not even new. That was a few years ago. All right.
Yeah, it was. And that is absolutely terrifying. Think of what you can do to people and the invasion of personal rights and privacy that come with that.
But I don't know. There are no inconsistencies. This actually is really court martial is really a nice little primer on how military law works. Because when Commodore Stone is offering Kirk the chance to opt for a ground assignment, that's essentially him offering an Article 15. Non-judicial, let's just put it aside. You might get a letter of reprimand. That's about it. But Kirk said no. He wants to draw general court martial. Let's go to trial. And again, military courts, certainly at that time, was like, it's not guilt or innocent. Yeah, he's court martial and was found and then was cleared. We burned away all the things, found out what really happened, and this is what happened. He was found innocent of all wrongdoing. Now, Finney, that would be an interesting one. How that one progressed. I'd like to see that story. Conscience of the King. Again, this is considered one of the best ones. Because this has got the Shakespeare layered on with a trowel,
I really think some of these writers are just literally trying to rage bait. They're literally going, I'll just insult the most popular and most famous episodes because I want to offend fans. And that's why a lot of these articles, I don't even give them credit. I won't even read them. It's like I look at them and go, you're stupid. Fuck you.
Yeah, but the great discussion fodder for streams like this. But it's like, it's kind of, remember, this is 1966, 67. It's only been about 20 years since the end of World War. And they're still running, is Hitler really dead?
Careful.
It's like there were still, war criminals running around. They're tracking, and this is kind of playing on that,
Yeah. What people seem to forget is A, to use their fucking brains. But B, the reason why some of this stuff was so important in the first place. We can't just ignore the mistakes of the past.
Many of the problems come from the unintentionally silly moments that pull focus on the bigger story. For example, when Kirk and Leighton's wife find Leighton dead, carry him to his home, lay him on the couch, and cover him with a blanket while continuing the conversation.
And
what's the problem there? Okay, he's there. You can take him home. It's like you can deal with the thing later. And a dollar store spray bottle prop. This was a new thing in '66. These weren't on the market back then. This is a brand new thing. Oh, what's that? It's, you know.
So what? If you watch the first Star Wars movie, while he's sitting there at the table with Uncle Ed and Aunt Beru, they're literally drinking from a 70s Tupperware set.
Yeah.
In fact, my mom used to have it when I was a kid.
And form follows function, okay? A modern screwdriver may be made of titanium or those, but it's still going to look like the same kind of screwdriver from 1890. Okay?
The reason they used that Tupperware set is because it had a weird kind of not normal shape and other stuff, and it looked more futuristic.
Kind of funky 70s thing. The only thing, it's like the blue milk was repulsive, but that's typical, prop food. The alternative factor. Oh, we could do a stream on this one just by itself.
Actually, I do want to start doing streams on each episode together.
Okay.
Through all the series, all the ones I'll watch.
Mm-hmm. It's
from beginning to end.
Okay, now this one, I'll give her points on it because it's too confusing. Because they were behind the 8 ball from the get-go because John Drew Barrymore was supposed to play Lazarus, and he had one of his famous colds,
Well, I have my opinions on the whole Barrymore family anyways.
Yeah.
But...
Well, let's just say, the cold via Lynchburg, Virginia, or Lynchburg, Kentucky, I think. But, and the amount
of stuff that's come out that they put their kid through is
it was Drew's dad, so, but it's like
and her dad and grandfather were horrors to her.
Oh God, but the way that worked out is like the Star Trek production sued him for breach of contract because they wouldn't come through. He refused to show up for work. It's like then Robert Brown was literally brought in about last minute. He got a call Friday night from his agent. I got you a gig on Star Trek. I'm overnighting the script to you. He read it on the flight in because he was starting shooting Monday morning. Not even the customary week of rehearsal. No, you're starting now. In this case, Bill Shatner was a great help in that case. It's hey, this is how we do. Kind of a second director time. Helping the man. Okay, yeah, this is fine. You're doing great. And help steer the.
I mean, yeah, for all the people who still bitch about the dresses and stuff like that. Literally watch the show and tell me how many times he gets the guys out of their shirts with their muscles sticking out.
Mm-hmm. That one is kind of noted because the gal playing the engineer, for some reason, in the blue uniform, she was one of the first black actresses to go on, on TV with her natural hair. They were going to do a wig like, in the show, but just regular short fro, and went fine. Okay, so another notch on Star Trek first that aren't heralded much. It's noted here and there, but this is the first black actress.
It's also where do we find natural hair with a lot of black women? Because what I see in a lot of talks on that is basically they act like if they do oil treatments so they can grow it out without it knotting up, then that's not natural hair.
Yeah,
it's like okay. We can agree if they're doing like literal straightening treatments and perms, it's not really your natural hair, but it also is kind of because it's not the same thing as some actually wearing wigs or stuff.
That's a figure. Is that a wig? No, then it's her hair.
Yeah.
That's the
end. I've seen so many of these discussions, and a lot of the time it's literally they don't count it as the black woman's actual hair if they do straightening treatments or dyes or other stuff. It's like, okay, but then you have to say that I'm not in my natural hair because my natural hair is a calico curly mess from the albinism and I dye it and straighten it.
Not the term factor. Is this the hair on your head? Is this the actual hair? I don't care if you color it, I'll do it. But is that the actual hair you live with? Yeah.
However, it was also stereotypical in that era to have black women straighten the hair so they would be more considered palatable to white Americans. So there is also that.
Yeah.
So there's a credit to they didn't make her change her appearance.
Yeah. I think it was partially. It's like, we can't, and someone just, I would just go with, he looks fine and normally.
That's why I said I think that one's kind of, it's complicated, but yeah, they didn't make her try to disguise her natural features. Yeah. I also actually do know Black women who have naturally straight hair.
Yeah.
It's not common, but it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Native women who are very, very Native who have hair that's freaking curly as a black fro.
Mm-hmm. What?
Start wrapping it up.
Yeah, we got a nurse coming by here pretty soon here. So, well, that was the last topic I had pulled up anyway. So,
well, tell Steph I said she's crazy.
Okay, Rosetta says you're crazy.
What?
Rosetta says you're crazy.
I'm crazy?
Yeah.
Bite me. I don't want food poisoning, sweet woman. Although since she's diabetic and doesn't control it as well as I do, I bet she has sweet meat. Sugary.
I would like to at least have some chance of sitting in the living room during this meeting.
Then get your butt in here and stop standing there talking to me about it. Get moving.
It's not this second. Chill.
Okay.
Anyway, have a good night, folks.
All right. And we will talk at you later.